Our last review of the day is going to be for another docu series here. This time it's a series and not a movie like we did with Freaking the Wildest Story Never Told. This is a 5 episode series. Docu-series. The 5th episode is coming out April 7th. That's like a bonus episode there for this, where they're doing apparently an interview with Drake Bill. They're doing an extended interview with him there. But this one is Quiet on the Set, the dark side of kids TV. This is detailing the scandals and misconduct that went on in Nickelodeon, specifically under Dan Schneider's leadership there, being the top boss, leading, being the forefront of a lot of these changing, basically revolutionizing kids TV. He was the big name and big person who created Drake and Josh, Zoe 101, iCarly, Victorious. I think you were a Nick guy, weren't you?
Yeah, but that was like that. All that shit was like after my era.
Yeah. He also
Like,
did Keenan and Kel, which was there. He also did that. Did
yeah,
Adventure.
but Keenan and Kel, I was already growing up. Like, cause a lot of that shit was in the 2000s. Like, okay, I knew about the Amanda Show, but I didn't watch the Amanda Show like that. I'm gonna be honest with you. Okay, I'm one of them kids where I didn't like watching shows that was not animated on Nick. If it wasn't animated, I didn't give a fuck about it.
Ren
If
and
it was
Stimpy.
Yeah, if it was animated, I cared about it. But if it was like fucking Are You Alone in the Dark and shit, like, no. I went to watch Tales from the Crypt. If it was like, what's that shit with fucking Cuba Gooding Jr.'s fucking brother in there? When they all wore colors and shit. I didn't watch
Um,
that bullshit.
forgot the name of that show. I know what you're talking about, but I forgot the name of it. And
But the game shows like Nick Arcade and shit like that, I watched that. But anything like, yeah, I watched all that too. You know what I'm saying? It was decent. So I watched that. But like Drake and Josh and all them shits, that was like I said, that was me. I was in high school. And then I was more so, me personally, I was like in the video games and just movies. And I knew about them,
hmm.
but I just didn't like, I didn't give a fuck about them. I watched Degrassi though.
Degrassi. Was that
Yeah.
is that Nickelodeon? Degrassi?
No, it wasn't Nickelodeon. It was like some other channel that would come on. But I watched Degrassi and never really knew who Drake was. I remember seeing him in the show and I was like, oh, that's the black kid. But that's about it. Like, I didn't
Yeah.
like, oh, that's Drake now. Like, I never knew that about that. But yeah, yeah. But like, yeah, all of that stuff was different for me. And man, I didn't look at, even if I was like a kid, I wouldn't watch that shit, G. I wouldn't want to watch that shit, man. I would want to watch Drake and Josh. Like, that shit wasn't really up my alley. Now, I lived a lot through it through my little brother, and my little brother didn't watch none of that shit, or my sister. Like, they didn't watch Drake and oh, maybe my sister watched Drake and Josh a little bit, but not my brother or nothing like that. So they didn't watch that shit. No. But I always knew about it. And then I knew like Ariana Grande came from that shit,
Right.
and then Amanda, and all this shit. And I thought Amanda was just annoying, so I didn't give a fuck about her, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I out of the shows, so he was big. He came on to Nickelodeon. I mean, the guy had a long career in Hollywood, Dan Schneider. He started off as like doing minor roles in a bunch of
Mhm.
like teen comedies. Then he transitioned and then he was in kind of a producer writer role. And then one of his big things was doing All That, which was a sketch comedy show, which was basically it was Saturday Night Live, but for kids with an all kid cast directed towards kids. That's like really what kind of blew him up there with Nickelodeon. Then he moved on to doing like things like Keenan and Kel and the Amanda Bynes Show, and then doing other shows like iCarly and, as I mentioned before, Victorious and Sam and Cat.
And What I Like About You and shit,
Yeah, What I Like About
because
You,
that
which
was on what
WB,
WGN WB, right?
yeah, WB. I think it was called Underpaid Negroes at the time. I think it was UPN back then.
UPN, yep, Underpaid Negroes, yep, the
Yeah,
WB, yeah,
yeah, I think it
yeah.
was. Yeah, What I Like About You, which I remember that show. Like I remember the theme song to that show. Like What I Like About You. I remember the
Mhm.
theme song to that show
And
there.
then every show like that back then, um, I don't know if you can find like just the beginning of the cut, but they always on the WB they had this weird depth of field type of look to it, but it always had like the city in the background and bright lights. Like I think like New Girl was like one of the last shows to really do that type of shit where it was like, what I'm saying, you would just see like it would be like Amanda Bynes and the whole cast. It'd be like the city just blurred out in the background, but you see the bright lights and shit. Like they used to use that a lot on the WB.
Mm, yeah. So yeah, he also did that show, but the shows I watched that I saw a little bit of like Victorious and Sam and Cat.
Mhm.
I never saw iCarly. I never saw Drake and Josh.
You know why you ain't watch that? Well, I don't know. Sam was okay, but I know why you watched Victorious. Yeah, I know why you watched
Why did I
Victorious.
watch Victorious?
Nigga, cuz shit. Victoria's was like one of the first shows. I'm like, okay, they got some biddies on this motherfucker. Like they got some motherfucker grown woman on this motherfucker. Like, damn, okay, I can see you shorty being my age. Like, you know what I'm saying? When you see like Victoria's, when I seen Victoria's when I was in high school, I was like, okay, they putting 16-year-olds in this motherfucker. When I see like iCarly and all the motherfuckers, them motherfuckers like preteens still when I was that age. You know what I'm saying? So I see Victoria's, I was like, okay. Yeah, Victoria, she look grown, you know what I'm saying? She don't look like no damn. Come on, man. When you see Victoria, that like a regular teenager, bro. I don't
Yeah.
like no regular teenager. She don't like no regular teenager. She look a little older, you know what I'm saying? She look a little different than the three we just named. Amanda, iCarly, Sam, you know what I'm saying?
But I never really liked that. I mean, I never was really that into those shows. I saw a couple episodes, like, it's a little too goofy for my taste. It's a little
Mhm.
too yeah, a little too silly, slapstick for a little bit my taste there. Which, I mean, given his background, I mean, he came from that sitcom type background because one of his first big breaks was being in the show Head of the Class.
Mhm.
That was, like, one of his first big breaks there, Dan Schneider. So, yeah, but this series is detailing a lot of kind of what went on there, a lot of the misconduct, as I said there. You're seeing a lot of interviews from people that worked on these shows, writers, directors, some of the child actors they brought back from these shows to kind of tell their experience, their stories.
Some
One
of
of
them
the,
feel like stereotypes.
they brought back, yeah, some of the, do you remember some of these people there? I mean, but you probably
Yeah,
don't because,
yeah, I remember that black motherfucker there. I remember I knew as soon as I seen him, the black dude, he was like, "Yeah, Dan didn't like me like that." I'm pretty, yeah, yeah, that dude right there. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he didn't like you, dog. Like your mama was going around here starting a fucking ruckus and
that
shit.
was, I think that was the, what was his name? That was the other dude there. I think that was, he
No,
was
that
also,
was him right there. Yeah,
yeah,
right there.
yeah,
Yeah,
that
his
was it.
ass. Yeah,
Uh,
his ass. And then yeah, they definitely made the black girl the token black girl.
Yeah,
Like,
Giovanni, Samuels, yeah, she was a
yeah.
cast member on All That, and then so you have some people from All That there, Leon, Fearson, who also kinda came and also did an interview here, and the one big interview that they did get was Drake Bell, which we're gonna get into. He did, like, one of the big bombshell interviews a lot of people are talking about, in this one, but yeah, I mean, you see kind of a lot of things with Dan Schneider and how his behavior there and on set and behind the scenes.
He was
You
asshole.
He was an asshole, and then also you get a little bit some more darker things here with people that were actual predators on the show, that they were working with, that, with even one of the cast members there. Um,
And it's a lot of it is just I mean, even though we're living in a time right now with this Diddy Cassie shit going on, but a lot of that shit was still going on back then in the '90s, where uh, just it's like the sad way of what's behind the curtain of people that work in those environments and shit like that, and the access that they do have, and the impression that, just these kids being so green. You know what I'm saying? Like, just yeah, it gets to a point where it's really sad, and it even falls on the parents in some sorts of this damn documentary. So yeah.
yeah. Coming in this documentary because I heard about it, heard a lot of people talking about it. I was thinking that Dan Schneider himself was like doing things with the kids, and
Mhm.
maybe he was, sexually abusing the kids. They don't say that in here. They kind of, I think, insinuate that and kind of hint at that, or maybe they try to build evidence to that case that maybe he was living out his sexual fantasies or fetishes through the show and putting it on TV for people to watch there. Um, which I think that that's more up to interpretation or,
Mhm.
kind of subjective there, because, like, they mentioned stuff in the show of, like, Zoe 101, they mentioned a scene there with that show with Jamie Lynn Spears, where there's a scene where she gets, like, something squirts on her face,
Mhm.
and, people think, like, "Oh, that's maybe a reference to a cum shot or something like that."
Man, I
Um
wasn't thinking of that when I was no kid, man. I wasn't thinking of that shit, man. I knew how to jack off back then. I wasn't thinking of that shit. I
Yeah.
wasn't thinking it because they would do similar shit and all that, and I just wasn't thinking of that shit. So yeah, it does get like a little shaky when when a lot of the filmmaking is revolved around that. Do you think that this shit could have just been a Drake Bell doc, but it seemed like they wanted to go at a big fish?
Well, I mean, Dan Schneider, obviously, he's the big name because he was the
Yeah.
big head of, the children's entertainment at the time. And what he did was still bad. I mean, what he did,
Mhm.
they
Yep.
built a strong case and strong foundation for the abuse that happened, what he was going through, and you have a lot of people testifying to that.
The
Uh,
access. Yeah.
he was talking about, like, him being maybe sexist to the only 2 female writers there on the Amanda Bynes show.
Which was
The
bullshit. Don't why you hiring writers and you splitting the pay between the 2 motherfuckers?
yeah.
Why?
Uh
That's goofy.
Yeah, so they had to share one salary there that the 2 women claim, even though he denies that, he says that that didn't happen, but that's what their story is, that they had to split a salary, there,
And that
and
makes it shaky too because we don't know if they even won the case. And if they even ain't won the case, it really is his word against theirs.
yeah, and the woman, I think the woman's name was Jenny, she was one of the writers there of the show, and then she ended up stepping away because she just couldn't deal with the toxic work environment anymore, and then she did end up suing Dan, back in the day for, gender discrimination, and they settled out of court, so they did settle out of court there.
Right, it did. But yeah,
Um
gender discrimination. I know shit where like cause she could have fought for a pay, she could have fought for a lot of other shit, but she only got for that.
Yeah, because she was saying that they weren't allowed to do that, he wasn't allowed to split a salary, that was against WGA, rules for them to do that, to him, but, so yeah, I mean, you had that kinda going on, the stuff with the abuse that he was doing to a lot of the, staff behind the scenes, also the actors, like they said he would, blow up at 'em a lot, make them cry, scream at them if they messed up a line, if they, fumbled it, or if they messed up on set, so and then also, you did have the added thing of, like, he would have women, that worked for him that were in the wardrobe department come and massage him on set, which everybody thought was weird. Everybody thought that that was strange that he did that.
Even
Uh
Amanda would do the shit.
Even Amanda Bynes would do the stuff there, yeah, would, like, give him, shoulder rubs and neck massages and back rubs and all that stuff like that, which you shouldn't be doing that in a work environment anyway, I don't, you know what I mean? Like, it'd be
Yeah.
different if maybe you hired a personal masseuse there on set with you to do it, but you hiring people who they have a job already. Their job is to do the wardrobe. Their job is to do costumes, not give you massages. So that was already strange already there.
Well,
Um
it seemed like too in the middle in the crypts and crevices of the dock, it seemed like it was like what was the budget? You know what I'm saying? Because it seemed like they just really tried to keep the budget tight. You know
mhm,
what I'm saying? Like with a lot of shit that was going on, but they were paying men writers full price,
yeah,
you know what I'm saying, full benefits, scholarships, whatever the fuck you need.
yeah. I mean, that's what it seems like, so, uh,
Yeah.
yeah,
And then a lot of the shit is the influence. Like I said, it's a lot of this shit, man. We come into this content creation game, this media game, and sometimes we come in green, and sometimes we just do shit for the love, and even the guy, like what was his? I mean, he was a fucking shit faced dude ass, but the dude that was taking everybody like numbers and would do prayers with everybody and
oh,
shit.
Jared there.
Yeah, this motherfucker. What he say? He said he was working there for free for 6 months, and then he got paid. Like, I don't know. A lot of this shit too, you can kind of like look at it and once again, like the Freaknik doc, go into the whole like financial situation of this shit going on. Like, what the fuck was going on? Where the dollars was going at? Because all that didn't look like it was that much to make. How much you got to pay 10 kids?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know where all that I mean, these were hugely successful shows too. I mean, they talk about, like, how big these shows were, how these child stars became such super celebrities, and I think that a lot of the stuff because it seems like they really wanted to get Amanda Bynes to come and do an interview. I think they did ask her to do an interview, and she said
Mm.
no. She said she didn't have anything to talk about, and they
Ass
did
on TikTok right now going crazy. Go
yeah.
ahead and follow her.
And I think that they try to kinda link her behavior, you know what I mean, in these recent years and what's happened to her recently, throughout this time to kind of what maybe happened there in Nickelodeon,
Mm.
because I think they try to insinuate maybe something happened between her and Dan Schneider. They tried to say like, "Oh, well, she spent all this time with him and they would go spend hours together and they would be cuddling up together," and like you said, she would be giving him back rubs and all that stuff like that.
Which
Uh
is enough evidence to piece this shit together, especially if the shit was going on with fucking Drake Bell as much as it fucking was. Like, I don't understand it. Like, and then the other comparison is these two people. It's like they got the same story, but it's like two different type of stories. But both of the motherfuckers had headlining shows.
mm, yeah,
You got the Amanda show, and then Drake had to get touched on, and he got his show because his shit happened before his show, and bro ass got arrested before his show went live.
yeah. Yeah, Drake I mean, Drake Bell, when he was doing that interview there, was very emotional interview that was like, I think that was the part 4 of it.
Mm, 3 or
Where
4.
yeah, where he gives kind of an emotional testimony there about his experience.
Where his
And
where his shit comes off as emotional and really well told. I think that's it's like the doc had sometimes the information that the doc had like I'm gonna be honest with you. Some of the information they probably stretched this motherfucker, but with the you can tell that when they had more information, the better the doc was because now they had more of a story.
right,
Because we also had the story of him and his father, which that was like sad.
yeah. Yeah, there's some things in this, it's kinda like, where's the line between what's sensationalism and then what's, okay, allowing a platform to tell these stories and let it be out there so you can have a caution warning for other people who, you know what I mean, want to do the same thing as these people did. And where it kinda, I think, blurs that line with sensationalism is you do have this stuff, like I mentioned, with, like, all these things in this show, now that maybe you look at it with a different context, like the one of the actors who comes back and does the interview, one of the actors from all that, he talks about they did like a kid Fear Factor type thing
Hmm.
where, you know what I mean, he got covered in peanut butter and then dogs came out and then licked the peanut butter. He's like, "What the fuck is this? Like, what kind of weird shit is this? Who's coming up with this shit?" You know what I
Hmm.
mean? He's like, "I did not
Which
like
which which I agree that it is kind of weird because it is all over his body and I don't give a fuck what it is. If a dog lick your nuts, you're gonna get a tingly feeling. Like, yeah, I understand.
And this was, this guy's, Brian, right here,
Hmm.
and he was a cast member on, All That, yeah, and he's like, "Yeah, I didn't like that." He's like, "That's kinda fucking weird." So it's like and then you also analyze the stuff with the feet, there's a lot of feet stuff in a lot of these, especially like iCarly. Quentin Reviews, he does a lot of reviews about Nickelodeon shows, a fellow
Hmm.
YouTuber there, and he said, like, there's, like, 46 episodes of this show where it's just, like, in references to feet that somebody's doing something with feet, like their feet are getting submerged in a tank or covered in milk, or they're giving back rubs when somebody steps on somebody with their feet out. Uh, I don't know. I mean, it seems like the logo of Nickelodeon is a foot.
Hmm.
Like does this thing? Does he have like some sexual thing with feet, or does he just think feet are absolutely funny and just like he just thinks feet are funny? I guess I don't know. I mean, with something like Quentin Tarantino, it's like, I mean, he said openly like he has a foot fetish, and now when you look back at Quentin Tarantino movies, it's like, oh, okay, well, yeah, okay, this makes sense now why he puts all this shit in here. But I don't know. I don't know why it just when they kind of piece all those things together to build a case to
Mm.
try to say like maybe he's a little bit more of a sexual deviant or pervert or something like that. I think that's a little bit more to interpretation there. Like I said, what do you think?
You can, yeah, but see, that's the thing. Like, some of the information you can say that, but then you got this fat nigga in a hot tub with fucking
Amanda Bynes?
with Amanda Bynes and shit, and then she only interviews adults in the hot tub. Yeah, that can look weird, look fucking weird,
Yeah,
because she has a fucking her version of a bikini on
yeah,
with an adult in a hot tub. Yes, that can look weird. That is very weird. Like, it's nothing funny about that. Like, it was nothing funny about that at all. Like, to be honest with you, when I used to watch all that, and I'm sorry, I don't want to sound like, well, fuck it, y'all mark me as race. Go to Reddit. Hey, y'all, go to Afternoon Tune Reddit. Y'all can put this in there about me. I'm on a couple episodes anyway. I'm part of the universe. Go ahead. Y'all can call me racist. Look, check it out. I didn't when I used to watch all that. I didn't even think none of the white people was funny. I didn't think Lori Beth Denberg and it was funny. Okay, I thought they had the worst skits. Okay, I thought Keenan and Kel was funny. I thought all the black people was funny. and,
yeah,
I,
yeah. I mean,
and Keenan and Kel read most of the sketches back then.
yeah. I mean, and also you do have like they when they show like there's people who made like a compilation of all
Mm,
the weird stuff that happened with Ariana Grande, in the show of like, she would do these like even like Victorious, and then she had like these I guess these webisodes or something where she would put her foot in her mouth or pour water all over herself like she's hanging off the bed, and it's like, watching this as a kid, like I don't think
mm,
anything is sexual with this, I think it's like, oh, they're
yeah,
just having a water fight. It's a water fight, you know what I
yeah,
mean?
that like in the Victorious era, like it was getting up. It was trying to be more more teen. They were it was an era where if you really like paid attention to Nickelodeon, it was an era where it was just cartoons. And then when they had the TV shows, it was very light to be for kids. Even when like Are You Afraid of Dark would come on very late. Like, I always paid attention to shit like that, about the times shit would come on, right? Because I know that if I'm staying up late, I'm not gonna stay up late just to watch. Are you afraid
Are
of
You
dark?
Afraid of the Dark?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. But I understood it was more so for that kid that didn't mind staying up late watching that. I watched Tales from the Crypt, but it came on late because they were looking to appeal to maybe a more older audience too. Sometimes they'll have a hour block where it is shows of human shows or whatever with humans in them. So and if you like I said, if you watch Nick over the years, they were trying to get a little bit more grown and shit like that. Even with like leaving a couple of their shows like Doug left and went to Channel 7 and I was trying to get grown but still appeal to kids. So, Nick was trying to get grown and Nick had things like Nick at Night, you know what I'm saying, and Teen Nick. We also had that growing up too. So, I feel like these were just teenagers. I don't think you can with it in the teen parts like Victorious and shit like that. Um, in the teen parts with like Victorious and shit like that, um, that right there is no different than what we used to see where Eddie Winslow brings a gun to school. Those type of episodes and shit like that, or somebody gets shot on the Rock TV show. A teenager gets blasted in front of the front door. You know what I'm saying? Like, if we want to just talk things that are being graphic, you know what I'm saying? But I guess they just had to kind of keep it light. But some of the stuff did look extreme. Like I said, the amount of Amanda Bynes hot tub shit, the whole like Ariana Grande getting shot in the mouth. That shit looks weird, especially with the history of it. If
Yeah,
a nasty motherfucking mind is a nasty motherfucking mind,
yeah,
and all it takes is a mind to think like that, and then everybody does something behind closed doors. They don't want nobody else to know.
yeah. And then yeah, there's another scene there, and DJ Haywood there goes because of TV guidelines at the time there. And
Mhm.
there's another thing where she's like holding a potato, and then she's talking about give up the juice and things like that.
Yeah.
Um, which, yeah, I mean, now you're looking back on it, it's like, yeah, this is kinda strange that you're letting this girl do this, like I said, pouring water on herself and all this, and doing these things there and saying like, "Well, look at the potato," and they said in the documentary, like, a very phallic looking potato. It's like,
Mhm.
I mean, I don't know, I don't really look at potato and go like, "That's very phallic looking," I don't know,
Yeah,
but like
yeah.
you said, it's all like because one of the the defenses that Dan Schneider offers up is like, well, this had to go through a bunch of people to be greenlit and to go on TV.
Mhm.
So, did you have people who looked at this and went like, maybe they thought it was weird, but they didn't want to say anything because maybe they're like, well, if I say something's weird, then maybe I look like the weird one, going like, I'm thinking of something sexual with
I
teenagers
mean,
and
I'm gonna
kids.
be I'm gonna be honest with you. I think it's just all about perception, and I'm pretty sure maybe one or two people probably went through that as like, oh, it was weird, but sometimes you have to, sometimes you got to come into the mindset of, is it going to be funny? And I think when it's not directly like grabbing dicks and shit like that, then you know what I'm saying, then it won't be thought about like that to some people. But then you have some of those people that maybe think past the norm sometimes, like due to his mother, and would say like, well, why is he in a skin tight suit if he's the first rapper ever and shit like that? Well, he's a sperm. That's also kind of nasty. Like you doing sperm play, like
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like just yeah. So I
Wasn't
don't
he
know.
I thought he wasn't he a fetus? He was like the fetus rapper or something like
Yeah,
that?
like fetus, sperm rapper, whatever. He was like a shitty Browns fetus rapper, whatever, like that. Like so, you know what I'm saying? Now the skin tight suit, I just think I don't think it was that damn tight, kid. Like you wasn't like showing butt cheeks, but you know what I'm saying? Yeah. But even thinking about like it, I guess being like I don't know, a sperm, I guess. Like, yeah, that's kind of disgusting, I guess. But I
Yeah,
don't
and
know.
then
Like I said, man, I think it's really hard to gauge because one, like I said, the Drake Bell parts are so precise, but the Dan Snyder parts are shoddy. And
mm,
that's why it's making people feel like this when we watch this shit. We don't have any like cold cut. This is not like watching the R. Kelly shit and you know what I'm saying, and niggas knew that R. Kelly had tapes going around the hood.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Like
Uh,
don't like the only shit that we can pinpoint is that Drake Bell was really getting sexually harassed out here.
yeah. I mean, the stuff with him being an asshole and toxic boss and abusive and all that, like, tons of people can confirm that and
Mhm.
kinda speak to that. And then the other stuff is kinda there, and then, it kinda does when I think about the sensationalism of it, like documentaries do of, like, they'll take, like, a normal photo of him and then zoom in times 20 and then, do that where they try to make him look extra evil and, everything, and then, what he did was terrible, and then it gets into a little bit more of darker stuff of, the stuff
Mhm.
with Jared and the stuff with Brian Peck there,
Mhm.
who were, the 2 pedophiles that were on the show that worked on the show there. And then,
But see, the thing of it is, why are they the two pedophiles? Because it's like it's easy to pinpoint these niggas was really doing shitty shit, and it's like I understand what Hey Woodja is saying. It's just that the way the filmmaking of this doc is what's fucking the Dan Schneider parts up. That's what I'm saying.
mm,
This doc should have just been like a Drake Bell doc, but it's just like the way that shit is being made is just is the way that shit is being made is like it's kind of like 60% speculation, 6% truth and 40% speculation. So it kind of like teeters and totters on how the filmmaking, how the documentation is being made. But then when we get to these two niggas, the Brian Pecks and the Mans,
yeah.
like we have
And
shit
then
on them.
and the other dude, I think his name was Ziesel, I think his name was, the other guy. They didn't really talk much about him. But yeah.
How you doing, Whitney?
Yeah, they didn't really talk much about that guy, but
Which
yeah,
one?
the other guy, he brought somebody on the set, there on the actual Nickelodeon lot there.
Mhm,
They didn't really spend too much time with him, but they mainly talked about Jared, the Jared guy that worked on the sets. He was an associate producer. Um, he was the one that, his job on the set was to, like, take the kids, like, out of
mhm,
sight from their parents, I guess, to help them get from point A to point B, like, because they were little kids, I guess they couldn't, figure out where all they were supposed to go, so he that was his job, was to do that. And, when you're hearing the stuff there where they're talking about it, it's like typical, predator type stuff of him worming his way in there, getting close to the families, making it seem like he's a
mhm,
normal guy, then, getting close to the kids and coming over their houses and that
mhm.
stuff,
Prayer
uh,
meetings and shit.
prayer meetings, and then it's just that stuff, the way it kinda goes is like, geez, I mean,
And I think that's what makes this doc magical, man. Like even though I say what I say about like the Dan Snyder stuff, it is what it is. Like not is what it is. Like this shit is fucked up out here. It's really fucked up. Like people prey on like just your greenness, like your fondness for this shit. Like, and it's so sad. Like, it's so fucking sad. And you can even and look, we even looking at it now. You can even be a grown man looking at this shit. What was it was a show that they had out that I watched. It only lasted one season on Netflix. And they was doing the same thing with fucking executive was out here fucking fondling on motherfucking actors and shit like that. What was his it was some actor they had in there. He was a big actor, but he was gay behind the scenes. But he was getting fondled on like this is this shit needs to be shown. Like I wish this doc would have came out earlier. This doc should have came out like a long time ago. To be honest with you, like this doc really should have came out like a long time ago. Because
mm,
even what it is, like it's just showing like it's just fucking dark motherfuckers out here, man. As a kid, I'm gonna tell you, as a kid, my mother used to take me to these little fucking auditions and shit as a kid and try to get me in these fucking what's the names and these little in these fucking commercials and shit like that. And I
mhm,
used to hate going to them shits because it would be like Drake's father said, like we would go to auditions. Back then, them auditions used to be in hotels and shit, and they were saying on the radio, "Hey, Huggy's got an audition going on at the Roxford Hotel, 6 to 7. Bring your kid. We picking this motherfucking kid and shit." My mom used to bring me to those shits. You know what I'm saying? As a kid, and all that shit about like just when the parents would be obsessed with just getting their kids famous. That's a whole nother evil side of the shit. Like it's just a lot of this shit. The price that we do for fame to be a fucking gesture out in this fucking world, just to fucking entertain is fucking disgusting. And that's the big message of this whole damn thing, that all this shit is disgusting. It's just a bunch of leading on and lies in certain people, and it's motherfuckers that just move around like this, and niggas don't say anything, or niggas don't call it out. Like niggas be at the coffee machine every day. They don't call this nigga out and say, "Hey, my nigga, that's weird. You like God that much? Stop it, my G. Just come to church with me. You don't gotta go to fucking church with these fucking kids. Like this shit is just evil, dog. That's some piss poor shit. And this type of shit like this doc, it needs to be made. Like it's just necessary. It's just late as fuck, but it's necessary. And I think it should have been necessary like years ago, man. And yeah, like I said, to me, I haven't reviewed this, and I wanted to review this just to get this off because I remember being one of those kids being like that. I didn't get sucked into it like that, but I was going to agencies and shit, and these fucking parents be serious about just letting they kids just do this shit. Even with the Drake Bell and shit, like his pops was holding him down, then this pussy ass motherfucker separates him from his pops, and he uses his pops emotions against him through his son. Like that's some evil fucking shit. That's evil.
yeah. Yeah, you talked a lot of stuff about the parents and the children there of getting into this business. Like I said, very good to see. Just as a cautionary tale there. The stuff where they kind of elaborate on that more, and like, you had the one actor, Brian there, who we mentioned before with from all that. of him talking about, like, him doing this is like, if I do this, I mean, some of these kids, I mean, they come from a really poor background. It's like, if I do this, this is my chance to get my whole family out the hood, as he said. And, imagine that, like, the entire financial future of your family is resting on your shoulders, at 12 and, 13 and everything like that. And like, hey, if I do well here, because maybe you get your own show, maybe you do a spinoff and do your thing and do that. And, I think that was a lot of pressure, maybe not wanting to say anything, and them talking about the child labor laws, of like they would go extra hour or 2 hours there doing this stuff, long hours when they should be taking breaks. And the
Yep.
parents, and then they said that, hey, the parents and caregivers were there. And it's like, well, what use is the parents and caregivers if you're not listening to him? Because you had Drake Bell's dad, who he called it right away. He's like, "I don't like the way that this dude is hanging around my kid and touching my kid, and he's all that stuff." And then he tried to raise concerns to the producers. He got to raise concerns to people on the set, and he was just dismissed and he was ostracized, as he said. He was just like, "Ah, yeah, but that's just him. That's just what he does. He's gay. He's this touchy feely guy. Don't worry about
And
it."
see, that's fucked up because that that's like almost like that's just bad. That's just bad. That's just bad. That's not even like an excuse to say that you just gay. You just a sick motherfucker. Like you just sick, man. Like you just sick and yeah, like y'all saying in the chat, like, yeah, the that was weird. The Aaliyah with Dame Dash shit was weird. And a lot of this shit, man, if you're like in this industry and you just get you just get provoked by a lot of shit and just get green by a lot of shit. And like I said, half of that shit was the parents too, because Drake Mama was taking that boy over that man's house every time that motherfucker would ask. That boy had to go get a girlfriend, and when he went and got a girlfriend, when he went and got a girlfriend, this motherfucker was still blowing him and his girlfriend phone up. Like, dog, that's weird. That is weird.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah, and, DJ Wood says, "Why did all the parents allow themselves to be removed?" I mean, they were there. I mean, it's just some of the stuff. I
They
mean, I
was
would,
there. Yeah,
I,
they was there. They just want to see their baby famous.
some of the stuff I won't lay the blame at, because it seems like they're trying to, maybe, I don't know, kind of connect like Dan Schneider to like Jared and what they did, and what the Brian
Mm.
Peck did and everything. I won't lay the blame there at on the feet of what happened there on Dan Schneider or Nickelodeon, because to my knowledge, I don't think they say in the documentary they didn't have any prior record beforehand of doing anything. So, they, and sometimes you don't know, who you're hiring. It's just that they just happen to hire two really, sick people there. Um, and I
And
guess,
and and if that's the case too, it seemed like Dan had a type, even though we can't pick from the last batch of kids like Keenan and them. I mean, hey, maybe one of the white girls was one of his types.
so yeah, I mean, you kind of saw that there with that. It's just like, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't lay that blame there. I would put the blame on Disney, because after Brian Pick, after he got arrested, he only spent jail for, like, almost just a little, like, a year and a half.
Mhm.
He got hired by Disney, and he was on the sex offender register. Now I would blame them for that, because it's like, you already know that this dude is a sex offender, and you have him working on the show called Sweet Life of Zach and Cody with children, and you know that, either you didn't do your due diligence and do a background check on this guy, but apparently, I mean, this guy was a well-known guy. I mean, he had friends in the industry, in the business, because when he went to court, there were
Mhm.
people who did vouch for him and did write letters to the judge for him, and they released.
And and you know how people get like that, get a name like that, is because you also got to think about it. When motherfuckers is hiring motherfuckers for shit, and motherfuckers is in Hollywood, when you look at an Adam Sandler movie and you wonder why all his niggas is in his movie, because he take his niggas with you. Usually it takes one person to go over to a company and to go and get their boys that they comfortable with, because that's how it goes. When it's certain positions that get took in certain companies, it's like a head coach. And what the head coach gonna go do? He gonna go get his boys. He gonna go get the right team, right? So these motherfuckers like Brian Peck and them, they live through this industry because they're impressionable too. And guess what? They're gonna do whatever they want. They're gonna do exactly what those executives or whoever they work for want them to do. So that's how they're gonna make it through the cracks and become reputable people. So it's if it was weird, it call it out to be weird. If niggas ain't calling it out to be weird, then that's how this nigga is gonna keep going through the cracks
Yeah.
because niggas ain't seen him do it.
When he said so, some of them did have prior records that just slipped through the cracks there. And then some of the people that did vouch for Brian Peck here was Ryder Strong, who and Will Friedle, who both of them they did Boy Meets World. They did both of them did Boy Meets World there. And he, like I said, he worked with a lot of people. You saw that Leonardo DiCaprio, he worked with him on things. He was a children's speech coach, so he
Josh,
worked.
I killed a few niggas, but you work at Disney now. Give me a job, my G.
You know,
That's how that shit go. If you know Chill is good at this, but you know he did this goof ass shit, you gonna give him a job, right? Because you want to get the best players on your team that you feel like and niggas that you comfortable with. These niggas do. These niggas be knowing about what the fuck they be doing, and they be knowing that they be having history personally, and this is what they do. This is what they do. Sometimes a nigga even, would even say, "Hey, give me a job over there, my G." Because look, they starting to find out.
Right. I mean, you see that a lot of stuff. Catholic Church, they'll move priests around to all these different places, knowing that they have a track record and been investigated, and they'll move them around in different
Police
places.
shooting niggas and niggas is still working.
Yeah. Yeah. So you did have that kind of going on. Yeah. So, I mean, that's kind of kind of this documentary. I mean, it kind of those are some especially dark moments in it with with Jared and with Brian Pick and like that really kind of gets stuff. And then Drake Bell, like I said, his testimony of getting into things, and then it kind of explains some things. I mean, he's ran into his trouble there with the law, and then with talking to underage women there. That was settled very recently. It kind of adds more, I think, to that of like, oh, I, kind of see, maybe why you went down that path with that. Doesn't excuse him for what he did. I mean, he still, did what he did there of talking to underage girls, then sexting underage girls. But yeah, you just kind of see like, most abusers, people who are abused are going to become probably abusers themselves. Um, and you kinda see that. Yeah, I mean, I say that, with this, like you said, Dan Schneider is more the head here of what they're talking about at the first part of it and, what he did, but I think when it comes to the other stuff, like the foundation of him being toxic and abusive and yelling at people and doing kinda weird stuff there with the massages on set, that's a strong foundation and that's built there. Kinda the other stuff is kinda the sexual innuendo, it's like, okay, is this his own fetish or what that stuff is like, okay, does he just think that this is just funny or is it some sinister something behind that? It's like, I don't know, like I said, you just kind of have to leave that up to interpretation. And I don't think that is as strong there. But I think that,
But
but
but your circle speaks a lot of volumes.
yeah,
And it's
I
sad to say we can say that, but your circle speaks a lot of volumes. If I'm sitting there, let's say it like this, Josh. If I'm sitting there and I come and I bring my peoples around our community and my guys are just like misogynists and they don't give a fuck, you know what I'm saying, inappropriate jokes.
mm,
That makes me look like the same type of person because they my people. So, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. It's just a line that has to be crossed and it's too much shit to go down like that. And like I said, we know R. Kelly did what he did. We know those three motherfuckers did what they did. Fuck Dan.
yeah,
Fuck him. To be honest with you, fuck him because that's his crew. He niggas hire their crew out here in Hollywood. So fuck him.
yeah.
Like
I don't know.
I understand that. Like I went through that whole notion too, but fuck them because you are the company that you keep.
Yeah. And he did give an interview. He addressed everything about that there, and people can go watch that. Where he kind of talks about it and talks about all the things. I think cops do a lot of stuff there in it, and talks about. But he didn't admit that, like I said, the salary thing. He didn't. He said he didn't control salaries and everything like that. But all the abusive kind of toxic behavior that he did on set, he does cop to that on it. Yeah. So like I said, final thoughts on my rating on it. Yeah, I think like I said, it kind of blurs the line between of like sensationalism and then trying to let these people tell their stories and come out and have it be out there and especially as a caution one for other people. And then also these things of other you have other people, YouTubers, TikTokers who will now they'll look at all these scenes from these shows and go like, look, this is meant to be this, and this is some secret meaning that he was trying to subliminally put in the children's head watching it, and all this is like,
Look at the culture that we're in though, Jay. Look, I'm telling you, look, one thing that I would say is just also look at the culture that we're in. If you go to people like Blitz and all these other people like Internet of Jay, and when they do like these YouTubers and shit like this, and these YouTubers that do child fucking content are doing the same type of shit, you become paranoid. We are in a paranoid era. So it's just when shit don't look right, it just don't look right. And
mhm,
and it's YouTubers that are doing the same shit. Is so many YouTubers that are doing the same shit, fucking with young girls, fucking with young fans, fucking with young boys, shit of this nature. And a lot of them, sad to say, are white. I'm sorry. Majority of them are white. Okay. If you see a nigga, it's usually a nigga just faking content. But majority of these six fucks be white and they be doing this fucking children's content, fucking Mario Brothers content, shit like that. It's a whole motherfucking documented page of that for over the years. So right now, with these docs coming out like this and being paranoid, if one nigga got it, all the niggas got it because this is the company that you keep, and niggas ain't letting up on nobody. Yeah, they call it a sensitive era, but I call it an era that damn that niggas is on your motherfucking ass. So even if I say some shit wrong, nigga, you can still look at me and ask me, chill, what's wrong with you? And then I can try to spruce it up the best way I can. But then if I go overboard and I just make it too blatant enough, then that's when you see like, okay, this nigga's is something wrong with him. He might be bound to do what he might be bound to do. He might be just too scared to do it at the moment.
so what's your rating for it?
Tune in, man.
Mhm.
Tune in, middle tune in. I'm giving it a middle tune in. This needs to be seen. This shit just came out too fucking late.
Yeah. Yeah.
And niggas knew R. Kelly being Markham at the Markham Rec Center waiting for little girls, nigga.
Yeah. I give it a tune in as well. For the reasons I listed beforehand. For that, and it did seem like Whitney mentioned like Amanda Bynes, who I think like I said before they reached out to her. She didn't want to. I think the two big 'cause it makes sense. I mean, Amanda Bynes and Drake Bell and, were kinda like the 2 big superstars of Nickelodeon. Amanda had her own show, Amanda Bynes show, and then Drake Bell had his own show there with Josh, and then I guess also Keenan. I mean, also Keenan and Kale. I mean, Keenan with that stuff, they were also pretty big with
Ain't nobody fucking on Keaton though. He ain't like the black people. He ain't like no black boys. He ain't fucking on them.
you did I guess you did have them, but, and then also it's like, um, you know, with this and it like, okay, where do you go from here? A lot of people may be feeling conflicted about, if you grew up like, Whitney who loved these shows and you know what I mean, were huge fans of these shows and you grew up when you're laughing at these things and thinking like this is the fun, really incredibly fun. Now you're looking at it back with a sinister meaning. It's like, oh, all this stuff. And I mean, I don't know, I
Mm,
mean, some of these actors, they contributed a lot to these roles just as much as the writers did, just
mhm,
as much as creators did, like, Amanda Bynes was a very talented young woman. I mean, she
mhm.
was doing stand-up comedy when she was, like, 10, 11, and then, you could see why she ended up a child star and got her own show and, everything like
Very
that.
charismatic, all that shit.
Like, you could see why she was able to do all that stuff, and then the same thing, with, Kale, same thing with him, doing good
And Drake
work.
Bell.
And Drake Bell, so these are talented people who, definitely deserve their props for also, you know what I mean, making revolutionizing children's television and being that and making that kind of pop off. Like, they said, like Nickelodeon stuff there was always kind of like the it was like Hollywood for kids, you know what I mean? That kind of epicenter there for that. Yeah, I mean, if you have the stomach to watch it, I mean, it's a tough watch. It's not easy, especially when they get into a lot of those stuff there. You check it out. So yeah, I recommend doing so. So yeah, tune in for me.
My thing of it is, it's just so weird. I don't know, man. I'm not deep in the fame game or whatever like that, but it is so weird how stuff don't get talked about because it's not their business, and motherfuckers be scared. Like, I don't know, man. It's like, where do you go from here? And then in entertainment, I don't think there's no such thing as an HR department. So, you could be a freelance DJ or any type of freelance entertainer out here, but you don't have an HR department, what I'm saying, to show what you do outside the scenes or the relationships that you have with people outside the scene. So,
Yeah.
um, I don't know, man. I don't know. I just would say to just stop this shit is to just stop it from the root, man, and just y'all just stop doing this shit, man. Hopefully, if Diddy really did this shit, because we're in that era right now. I mean, it's like, even though this came out late, it came out at the right time. If Diddy did all the shit that he did, like, hell, like, just stop this shit, man, because it's just a bad look, man. It's just a bad stain on entertainment. Who the fuck want to be in entertainment when this bullshit is going on? You know what I'm saying? So I don't know, man. It's just so much shit that we can say, but it's more so that it's so much shit that we need to do because there's so many motherfuckers that's just affected by this bullshit, and we see it every single fucking day to the point that we even see it in shows like fucking um what is that shit called, Ray Donovan and shit like that, that shows the darker side of Hollywood shit that goes on. You know what I'm saying? And it's just, or even just regular shit. Like, it's people that move and shake out here in the city that then did shit, and that are abusers and all type of crazy shit out here, but motherfuckers don't get in motherfuckers' business. But it just needs to stop when it's used for bad. Like, but then motherfuckers don't want to fuck up motherfuckers chili either. It's a it's Yeah, man. It just needs to stop. It just needs to stop, and it's wrong, and it needs to really just stop happening to children. You can do it all you want to the grown motherfuckers. Let them be enabled. If Puff want to go out there and fuck Meek, go ahead. That's cool. Put it on tape. I don't care. But it's just like, but for the kids, for the younger people, and you see that shit every fucking day and everything,
Mhm.
it just needs to stop, bro. It just really needs to stop.
Yeah, and that was Quiet on the Set, the Dark Side of Kiss Tobin there. And the bonus episode is coming out April 7th, episode 5 there. More of an extended interview and talk with Drake Bell. So yeah, that was that.